Hello, boys and girls. It's Trevy the Great here again with another battle report. This one's Warhammer Fantasy. No more Grey Knight shenanigans. I'm back to my Beastmen. Hopefully, I'll get some more games in with them because I'm having a great time with this army. And I've actually gotten my full 2250 list all painted up, which is awesome and something that I haven't really done for quite a while because obviously I've been working on other people's models. So obviously this game is my Beastman against a Dark Elf army in my local game club. Unfortunately, the Dark Elf army is not as well painted as my awesome Beastmen. Sorry about that, kids, but there's only going to be one painted army on the table today. My opponent took a very shooty army. He had 4 units of repeater crossbowmen, 4 Reaper bolt throwers, supported by a big unit of Blackguard, a Cauldron of Blood, and the Death Hag on the Cauldron of Blood has the battle standard. And then he has a unit of warriors, a level 2 sorceress using the lore of the Dark Elves, the Dark Magic lore. That's what it's called. And then he has a 10 unit of 10 witches off on the lower right hand corner there, and then up behind that sort of tower. There is a unit of harpies hiding behind those little woods up there. I took a pretty standard Beastmen list for this game. I have 2 units of 30 Gores with additional hand weapons and full command. I decided to give a unit of Bestigors a try because I haven't had much luck with them in the past, but I love the model so much that I put a unit of 24 in with full command. Behind that big cathedral there's also a unit of 5 Minotaurs with the Gorebull Battle Standard Bearer in it, just because I love that model and I just can't get rid of it. And then I have a unit of 32 Ungors, excuse me, and believe that, oh, sorry, and I have 2 Razor Gores. I'm giving the Razor Gores a try today because I got some Fellhound models from the Avatars of War range, which make pretty awesome Razor Gores. So we're gonna see how those run. I haven't tried them before because I've been comparing them to Minotaurs, and they just do not compare at all because the Minotaurs have the impact hits obviously and the frenzy. Although the Razor Gores are slightly harder to hurt because they are toughness 5 rather than toughness 4. So here you can see, oh sorry, I should go back through my characters too. Wow, I'm off my game today. I have, like I said, my Gorebull Battle Standard Bearer. I also have a Beast Lord with the Steel Claws and a Talisman of Preservation, as well as 3 casters, a level 3 Great Bray Shaman and 2 level 1 Bray Shamans. All of those have Wissen's Wild Form. The level 3 also has the Curse of Enri here and the Savage Beast spell. And then one of the level 1 Shamans has the Herdstone, so that's right in the middle of my battle line there, and they're all going to dance around that and get me some power dice for the rest of the game. So I took the first turn in this game and basically just moved my army up. I deployed in a pretty defensive formation because I sort of expected with Dark Elves, with all of the Knights and War Hydras and things that they can take, I sort of expected my opponent to be a little more aggressive. But then with the amount of shooting that he brought to the board, I realized that that wasn't going to happen. So I took the first turn and moved up, cast Wissen's Wild Form on all my important units. I actually got it twice off on the Minotaurs and then once on the Gore unit on the left. My level 3 caster miscast in the first turn, unfortunately. It did get my spell off with Irresistible Force, which is good, but it made her go down a level, lose Wissen's Wild Form, and then become level 2. So unfortunately I'm relying on my level 1 casters to cast Wissen's Wild Form, which isn't that much of a drawback, but I would really like to have the extra, the insurance of the level 3 with the Wild Form. So we're moving through the game pretty quickly. This is the end of my turn 2. As you can see, my Ungors have been pretty decimated by repeater crossbow shooting. I think that there are other things that my opponent could have shot at that would have done a lot more damage. Obviously, my Minotaurs are a prime target for crossbows, and my normal Gore units. Ungors are not really prime targets just because they aren't very powerful at all. As you can see, my opponent put a unit of Harpies in front of the Gores and the Razor Gores on my left flank there. So I was able to charge them and kill most of them. The Razor Gores actually did not succeed in killing more than one of the Harpies, but they did break the Harpies and cause them to flee. behind that line of repeater crossbowmen that's in front of them. So the way was cleared for me to move through, but unfortunately the Harpies allowed him another round of shooting on my units before I got there. My Minotaurs made a charge on the unit of repeater crossbowmen on the right side of the screen there. The Cauldron of Blood was giving the crossbowman a 5+ ward save, which my opponent was making ridiculous amounts of. But unfortunately, it just wasn't enough for the crossbowmen because the Minotaurs have just so many attacks. They were able to kill all but 2 or 3 of them, and then subsequently ran them off the board, which was pretty good. The Minotaurs then overran. They only overrun d6 inches, but they did overrun out of line of sight of the Blackguard, so they couldn't be flank charged. And they are in line of sight of the line of repeated Reaper bolt throwers that are sort of to the left off the screen there, which will allow the Minotaurs to just swing in and grab all of those pretty much free victory points from those units. One more thing, as you can see, my level 3 wizard has miscast again and taken a wound from a strength 10 small blast template, which is pretty funny. So 2 miscasts in 2 turns. Let's see if I can get a record here. So here's the end of my opponent's turn 2. As you can see, the Blackguard have made a successful charge off on the beast. What do you call those guys? The Bestigors. Wow, in the center, and my dislike of Bestigors was justified because the Bestigors were only able to do 8 wounds back to the Blackguard, while they took I believe 11 in return, and they weren't losing combat by that much. And both my general and my battle standard were in range, and I expected them to hold at least 1 turn, but unfortunately they just could not pull their act together, and they fled, and they will end up failing all of their rally tests and just fleeing right off the board. So I don't know about those Bestigors. So they did do a little bit of damage to the Blackguard. Unfortunately, the Blackguard are now behind my lines and able to start to attack my wizards and things. My opponent opened up on the Minotaurs with the Reaper bolt throwers, and were able to kill the entire back rank. I still have 3 models in there that can do some serious damage, so I'm not really too worried about them. The Harpies, as I said, the Harpies were taken out pretty easily in my turn, and then the Dark Elf Warriors over on the right, along with the Witch Elves, charged into the Gore unit, which had Wizard's Wild Form cast on it. The Witches failed their charge, but the Warriors did get in, and I guess my Gores were in the forest, so they weren't steadfast if they did lose combat. However, they did not lose combat; they won combat, which is the amount of attacks they were able to put out. They killed quite a few spearmen. And however, the Spearmen decided to stick around and see how it would go later on in the game. So here we are. I don't think I took any pictures for turn 3, so we're skipping to turn 4. As you can see, my Minotaurs have been just rolling through the bolt throwers. They've killed 3 so far, and they're down to 1 Minotaur with 1 wound left from shooting and things like that. So they're just eating up those victory points in the back of the board there pretty easily. My Razor Gores and my Gores did end up killing all of the repeater crossbowmen over on my opponent's right flank. That would be my left, up in the top there. So the Gores are swinging around to start to fight the Blackguard. The Ungors tried to charge the Cauldron of Blood. Unfortunately, they failed, so they're just moving up to try to get to support whatever combat goes on in there. As you can see, my opponent's Witch Elves did succeed in charging my Gores. My Gores actually broke the Spearmen in turn 3. The Spearmen ran but rallied, and then were able to turn around and charge again later on. I don't remember the exact course of events, but they were able to turn around and charge again, and the Witch Elves charged into the side. However, the Gores had Wizard's Wild Form cast on them, and that means that the frail elves were needing 6s to wound them. So the Witch Elves were able to do some wounds with their poison. However, the Spearmen and the normal attacks from the Witch Elves just were not able to kill many Gores, and the Gores were just wrecking those units. As you can see, there's only 4 Witch Elves left, and the Spearmen are not looking very strong at this point. Okay, so this is a little while later. As you can see, both the Ungors and the Gores have charged those Blackguard in the middle. They've sort of sandwiched them in between them. So I'm getting pretty significant combat resolution just from breaking ranks with the Ungors and getting the rear charge. The witch elves that were fighting the Gores over in the bottom left-hand corner there were wiped out, and the Gores are just chopping through the spearmen at this point. Um, and the Blackguard, even though they have the 5+ ward save from Cauldron of Blood, are just getting cut down by the units fighting them. So obviously that unit is not long for this world. The Minotaurs are about to kill last Reaper Bolt Thrower, and all that will be left is the Cauldron of Blood and possibly the Spearmen if the Gores can't wipe them out. Okay, here's the last photo. This is the end of turn 6. As you can see, the Minotaurs have killed that last Reaper Bolt Thrower, so they've wiped those units out. All the reputed crossbowmen are dead. The Blackguard are dead. The Death Hag and her Cauldron of Blood crew did charge in to kill the Ungors, and succeeded in killing a few of them, although it wasn't enough to wipe out the unit. And the Spearmen down in the center there have broken as well. So all my opponent has left on the board is just the Spearmen and the Cauldron of Blood, which totals, I think, about 600 or 700 points, while I have only lost my Bestigors, which were about 400 points worth of models. So the ending tally comes to a pretty clear victory to me at about 1,500 points up. We didn't calculate the exact numbers because it was obvious who won the game. So here's a picture of my enormous and hectic dead pile at the end of the game. I'm just going to talk about some of the thoughts I had coming out of this game. I tried out some new units, namely the Bestigors, although they're not really a new unit. I just trying giving them another shot. And the Razor Gores. I love the Razor Gores. I was comparing them to Minotaurs, as I said earlier, but you really can't do that because they really have an entirely different function in the army. Minotaurs are more of a just a stompy unit. They are, a hard-hitting, relatively fast, but not well protected unit. They're sort of a glass cannon. While the Razor Gores are a faster, like a flanking unit or a redirector. And at move 7 and only 55 points a model, they can do some serious damage. They did end up, each of them killed 1 unit of crossbowmen, which pays for the 2 units, the 2 models, pretty much twice over. And as well as a sorceress, which was another 100 or so points. So they performed remarkably well for what I thought of them earlier, and I think they will be a staple in my armies in the future, just because they're so small and so maneuverable and useful. The Bestigors, looking back on them, I just hate Bestigors. The models are so cool. The idea of the unit is so cool. They just do not have the stats to back it up. They're not well defended enough to be able to use great weapons. They'll just die before they get in anywhere. I mean, they could kill heavily armored things relatively easily with their strength 6, but I'd really rather give the job to Minotaurs just because our Minotaurs are more flexible in my view. A couple things I think my opponent could have done. He put way too many points into Reaper Bolt Throwers, and those were just eaten by the Minotaurs really quickly. I think he could have gotten some other better combat units and things like that if he dropped those. And I do think he needed some better combat units. Maybe Executioners are a great unit if you put that Always Strikes First banner in there. As well as War Hydras are also awesome, especially against things like Beastmen, which they do have a lot of high strength, but not a lot of flaming, not a lot of things that can really deal with big, large monsters like that. Lastly, my opponent's general was his Sorceress, from what I could tell, which is not a good choice. I think he would have been much better off taking a Master or a Dreadlord. From what I could see, he had no Lord choices whatsoever. So he was, like I said, if he dropped those Reaper Bolt Throwers, he could get a lot of points to be able to spend on those, which would have caused his army to hold a lot longer. And then with using the Cauldron of Blood and having his BSB back there, he needed to consolidate his battle line a little bit. He had guys out on his right flank, so my left, which were just sort of hanging out there, and they ended up fighting just one Gore unit and being pretty much wiped out, which was not very good for him. They just did not have the support to be able to take on the Gore unit, especially when the Gores were within 18 inches of my Herdstone, which means that I could just get Wiston's Wild Form on there while getting that extra power die from the Herdstone. So I think those would have done a lot better if they tried to hold up the Minotaurs for a little while or something like that, rather than just being killed off by the Gores. So that's all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed this battle report. Hopefully I'll get more fantasy reports in the future. Other than that, I'll just try to play games. If anyone has a particular game they would like me to play, let me know, and I will try to get some games in with that because, I like to please my fans. So, there you go. Stay tuned on my channel or Trevy'sPaintingTable.com for further battle reports.